Next, there are more than 100,000 civil servants working in the capital. The government minister, Jacob Rees-Mogg, thinks they should all be back at their Whitehall desks rather than working from home. The Prime Minister agrees, but many others don't. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has more.
Is it good enough?
Bruno can still manage a laugh, but hybrid working has hit him hard. He used to rely on civil servants in the Home Office across the street. But with so many working from home, business is down 60%. He's cut his workforce from 6 to 3, and a smaller turnover means he's contributing less tax.
They should force them to go back because, everybody is losing anyway. Because we used to pay a lot of money, even the VAT and everything, now we don't even pay off.
The food stalls and takeaways in Strutton Ground Market were also popular with civil servants from nearby government buildings. But that 5 days a week trade has vanished.
Before pandemic Friday is a more busy day. Monday is a little bit quiet, but not that quiet that it is now.
The busiest days is starting from Tuesday till Thursday.
A lot of people are not here on a Monday or a Friday typically. They'll spend that time at home. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is what we're surviving on.
Almost 102,000 civil servants are based in London, a fifth of the entire workforce. Many of them work in departments in and around Whitehall. Last week, some of them were visited by the Minister for Government Efficiency, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who left calling cards on some empty desks saying, "Sorry you were out when I visited. I look forward to seeing you in the office very soon." The government's drive to get civil servants back to their offices is facing resistance, and not just from staff and their unions. Some ministers are said to be in favour of hybrid working. Nadine Dorris, the Culture Secretary, reportedly described Mr Rees-Mogg's policy as Dickensian, which prompted this response from him.
One of our great authors, but personally I prefer Trollope.
In a statement, a government spokesman said ministers have been clear that departments should make maximum use of office space and progress is being monitored.
Civil servants have worked in their place of work throughout the pandemic. Many are working in there today. However, you can work productively from home as well. The future is a hybrid model.
What about the damage to the economy?
People who are working at home, they're also spending money in their own local communities.
Mr Rees-Mogg's determination to get civil servants out of their homes and into their offices was said today to have the Prime Minister's backing. A snapshot of the morning commute gives some idea of how widespread hybrid working has become. The number of people using the tube is still about 2/3 of what it was. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Good evening. Tributes have been paid to 3 generations of the same family who was stabbed to death at home in Bermondsey. Dolette Hill, her daughter Tanisha and granddaughter Samantha all died in the house. Dolette's husband, Denton Burke, was also killed in the attack. A man in his 20s was tasered and then arrested. He's still in hospital in a stable condition. Tanisha's husband has spoken to ITV News exclusively and paid tribute to his wife. Our correspondent Simon Harris has the latest.
3 generations of a South London family murdered in a moment of inconceivable violence. A mother, daughter and granddaughter. Dolette Hill, an NHS worker, was married to Denton Burke. He too was stabbed to death. The other victims were Dolette's daughter, Tanisha Ofuria Kufu, known as Raquel, and Tanisha's daughter, Samantha Drummond, who was staying with her grandmother.
I can't live without Tanisha. I don't know how I'm going to live again. I don't know where I'm going to start my life and end up with it. I can't live without her. I'm totally destroyed. I'm totally finished.
Tanisha's daughter Sam had moved out of her flat in Forest Hill while a new bathroom was fitted. Today, her distraught friends and neighbours remembered a kind and caring young woman with a love of life.
First time I met her, they said there was music that was being played upstairs. Gone upstairs, asked her the playlist, and from then it's been a musical love affair of sharing each other's Spotify playlist.
This is horrific for anybody, but such a horrible thing to happen to such a lovely family. It's devastating, absolutely devastating, and there definitely will be, a ripple in terms of people's feelings throughout South London.
Rudra lived on the same 3rd floor landing as Sam.
I couldn't sleep. I've been shaking. Every time I leave the house and I see her door and I'm like, where's her music? Why is she not here?
In South Bermondsey, other friends left flowers and comforted each other close to the police cordon around the crime scene. Scotland Yard released more details about what happened in Delaford Road in the early hours of yesterday morning. Alerted by reports of a disturbance at Dollett's house, police officers broke down the front door. Inside, police found 4 people with stab wounds and a 28-year-old man who they tasered before arresting on suspicion of murder. He's now in hospital. Despite the efforts of paramedics, the victims couldn't be saved. Not far away at the New Testament Church of God in Deptford, the pastor, Lloyd Henry, was trying to come to terms with the tragedy. He married Denton and Dollett.
She was a great cook, and she used to support, when we did our Alpha course, she used to do the cooking for that. And she even supported our mission to Africa, where we went on missionary trips, and she would come along as well.
Police activity in Delaford Road continued today. The Met says it's likely to be a protracted inquiry. Why 4 people should be targeted in a horrific family massacre is unclear. It is a question the police will hopefully answer, but not yet. Simon Harris, ITV News, Bermondsey.
Now, for years, the presence of rickshaws or pedicabs in central London has been a controversial one. Now, the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps says the government is going to crack down on them. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is in Soho for us now. So, Simon, what's the plan then?
Duncan, pedicabs have long been a familiar part of West End nightlife with their furry seats, flashing disco lights and speakers playing music. They tout for trade among shoppers, among tourists and among theatre-goers. But while they might look fun, they're a thorn in the side for the authorities and loathed by some taxi drivers. Some pedicab operators are accused of scamming passengers with rip-off fares, of blocking pavements and playing loud music late at night. Nikki Aiken, the Cities of London and Westminster MP, says she's aware of tourists being charged £100 for a journey of just a mile. Unlike taxis and minicabs, pedicabs aren't licensed. But that's about to change, as the Transport Secretary told MPs today.
We will be introducing in this this next session, law to control what I think is the wild west of pedicabs or rickshaws, particularly in London, where there isn't legislation which accurately enables any type of proper licensing or control.
The new legislation could bring rickshaws under the control of Transport for London. Operators will have to obtain a licence, they'll have to undergo safety checks, and they'll have to charge, or only be allowed to charge, fares set by Transport for London.
Simon in Soho, thank you. In a week's time, voters will be going to the polls for one of the most anticipated local elections in years. Westminster City Council has only ever been in the control of the Conservatives, but after Partygate and the mound in Marble Arch, the failure of that mound, Labour think they're in with a chance this time round. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
The Marble Arch mound is no more, but its ghost is set to haunt this election. 4 months after the flawed tourist attraction closed, Labour is putting the mound at the forefront of its campaign.
It comes up on the doorstep a fair bit. I think people are, angry that their money was wasted like that. We know everyone's really struggling with the cost of living crisis. We need council to be focusing on those priorities rather than sort of vanity projects, of which the mound is just one example.
The mound was meant to help revive the West End's economy after COVID, but it opened to less than rave reviews, entry fees were scrapped, and when it closed, it had cost council taxpayers £6 million. Not surprisingly, the council leader wants to focus on other issues.
We are focused on talking to residents about our really strong record here of keeping the streets clean, for the lowest council tax, really strong services locally. The mound we've talked about, we built that to bring people back into Westminster, to safeguard the jobs.
Do you regret it?
And no, I don't.
Westminster is one of London's most affluent boroughs, but its tree-lined streets are a mix of expensive homes and social housing. In the 1980s, the council pioneered on-the-spot fines for litter, a drive which endeared the council and its leader, Shirley Porter, to then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Westminster, with its low rates and privatising zeal, became one of the Tories' trophy councils. Westminster City Council has always been Conservative, never Labour. So, if the Tories were to lose control next Thursday, it would not only be historic, but a significant blow to Boris Johnson as well as quite a coup for Sir Keir Starmer. The battle for control of this borough is a straightforward two-way tussle between Conservative and Labour, leaving the other parties hoping but not expecting.
It would be a big first because we haven't had representation on the council since 1945, but don't forget in the general election of 2019 we came a very good second here. And of course there's a lot of dissatisfaction with Conservatives at a national level.
Why is the party only putting up 3 candidates for the 54 seats?
Unfortunately, we are not an enormous party, and so we are relying on people to put themselves forward. We do have a lot more candidates in other boroughs.
A recent opinion poll put Labour 27 points ahead of the Conservatives across London. But in Westminster, the Tory vote is traditionally strong, meaning Labour has a mountain, or should that be a mound, to climb. Simon Harris, ITV News, Westminster.